Folks, thanks for coming on with us today. My name's John Dubas with Premier Marketing, and we'll be spending the next 45 minutes to an hour or so discussing a resource in your community that enables you to establish your reputation in your target market and generally help the population in that target market with access through one of the centers of influence in the community, which are specifically faith-based organizations. Today's presentation is being recorded, and it, along with much of the information that we'll reference throughout the course of this presentation, will be sent to all who have RSVP'd. So you'll be receiving a recording and a couple of different communications, because one of the pieces that we reference, well, if I put everything together, it won't have enough space to go through our different communication devices that we have available to us. So watch for this information that will come to you when the recording updates as well. If you have questions through the course of the presentation, please make use of the questions box that is in the software package, and we'll make certain that we address those. If further investigation is necessary, we'll make certain that you get answers as part of the follow-up as well. All that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about our organization, and then go into some specifics on approaching this market. If you're not familiar with Premier Marketing, we're a national marketing organization that was founded in 1968. We're part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. We have offices across the country. We act as an insurance wholesaler, offering insurance services through independent agents, such as yourself, to the community. And the contracts that we work with are available at the highest possible commission levels, with recruiting contracts available to those who qualify. As I mentioned, being founded in 1968, that means we recently celebrated a milestone in our history, and we consider that quite an accomplishment for some organization that began as a small family agency in rural Nebraska that's grown into one of the largest marketing organizations in the Medicare space. We do so through a full insurance portfolio that includes Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and prescription drug programs, particularly pertinent to today's conversation because we access information from those carriers as part of what we make available to the public that we address. We also offer a full line of life insurance and annuity products that include final expense life insurance, and you'll see later in the conversation why that's pertinent to today's presentation. We also offer pre-need, long-term, and short-term care programs, disability income, and ancillary benefit programs. These are all of a particular appeal to our population. For one reason or another, they also give us an opportunity to rotate topics in different centers of influence, and that can make a difference as to what may be a hot button for one organization or another, and what is a particular hot topic that we need to address. That Medicare Advantage portfolio includes all the national carriers and many of the regional carriers that can make a difference for you and to you in your market, and that same philosophy carries over into the prescription drug arena, where those national carriers are available to you through our organization, as are a multitude of Medicare Supplement programs, including a couple of new releases. The Ascendo product from CVS and the Humana Achieve products are recent releases that are seeing a lot of traction in the agent community. We also offer different unique support programs that can help you be successful in this space as well. When we look at the different ancillary products in each of the categories, the national leaders are there for you, and the support that they offer can be a unique way of marketing and opening doors and establishing additional revenue streams for you and your agency as well. When we look at the Medicare market overall, this has a particular bearing when we look at the faith-based community, because we are seeing the aging demographic in many circumstances in the different places of worship. We're seeing a community that is ramping up with the population over 65 You don't come on a presentation like this without someone speaking to you about the aging of the baby boomers, 10,000 people a day, one every 10 seconds, however you want to phrase it. But one of the things we need to keep in mind is the Medicare population isn't just confined to 65 and older. And there are folks that are aging in to eligibility that aren't accessing it immediately. I've seen surveys anywhere from 12 to 18% within certain age demographics that have chosen to not immediately access their Medicare benefits. So that number, when you look at just an over 65 number, it's not entirely accurate. And it's also influenced by the fact that nearly 1/6 of the Medicare population is under the age of 65 and accessing those benefits because of a disability. This gives us another avenue to address and lend information to the community about the programs that are available for those folks. And it can make a key difference in many of the folks that we approach with our offer of providing information to their congregation. It's a varied population. You see those folks that are on Medicare, 2/3 of them have 3+ chronic conditions. So that gives us some additional topics to address. And we also see that many of the folks are also a bit, for want of a better term, handicapped when it comes to their income and savings. This creates another avenue of different topics that we can discuss to help folks that are responding to outreach because it's part of their faith family, as opposed to any other type of marketing outreach that may be there. It's a population that even as we progress through it, some of them are even more challenged than others, and this information can be vital to them. So as long as we have an idea as to where these folks are, it gives us an approach that we can use to best suit the needs of the people we're addressing. And we have a number of different presentations, I think, that will help you in this approach. And we're going to go through some of them very specifically. One of the things that we need to be obviously aware of is the fact that, as an old manager of mine said 30+ years ago at Prudential, the decision to make a decision is a decision. I already mentioned that there are a number of folks 65 and older that have not accessed their Medicare benefits, and it's a decision they made for one reason or another. Maybe they're looking at the Part B cost and they decide, nah, not going to do it. I'm going to self-insure, or I'm going to access benefits through the VA, or I'm working past the age of 65. There are a number of different factors that can influence that decision, or it might be someone that just picks up A and B and doesn't do anything else. Well, some other folks will actually pick up the drug coverage or decide to close some of the gaps in the coverage through either the standardized, modernized Medigap policies, the Medicare Supplement programs, or through Medicare Advantage Part C programs. These also give us then different topics to address to make certain that folks have the information they need to properly make decisions. And it gives us then detail that we can provide to our partners in the community with these different topics. If you think about it, you ever have that feeling before you buy a car, nobody else has this car, but when you buy it, then there's all kinds of other people in that same vehicle on the street, and you don't really care about that car until it's pertinent to you. We see a lot of folks that have that same attitude when it comes to some of their health coverage, and then, of course, even when they have that coverage, well, they don't understand the principle of the internal combustion engine, but they want to drive the car. Some of the information we need to make available can be very basic, or it can get into detail into different subtopics. It's also important to note that folks that are initially enrolling in Medicare, so I'm phrasing that differently than the demographic of 65 plus, you're looking at folks that are coming in when they're first eligible or picking up coverage later down the line. They're making basically almost an even choice at that point in time in choosing between the base benefits between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplements, with a number of them showing just original Medicare. These two topics give us a number of different programs that we can speak to and make certain that folks have the information they need to properly make a decision. So having detail on those and having it in a format that can be easily communicated as much as possible helps us with the choices that are pertinent to different parts of our community. And so you've got a trifold here of different programs that you can dive into that can make a difference. So as we look to specifically addressing the needs with centers of influence in our community, concentrating today on faith-based organizations, this can make a big difference as to how we approach this vital part of our community. And it's not like it's brain surgery, rocket science, or anything else. Part of the approach has to be made from a point of service and a realization that while you may receive some initial immediate response, this is an investment in your target market and in your agency and with the community partners that you approach. So as we go through and we look at the different parts of our portfolio, there are different programs that can be of real advantage to the faith-based community, not just the congregation, but all who are tied in with those organizations. And it's particularly pertinent now when we think of the fact that we're being socially distanced because of the challenges we have with the COVID-19 virus. But if you think about it, even though a church, a mosque, a synagogue, however folks gather to worship, there are certain expenses that come with that. And if those organizations are socially distanced, you don't see a church sending out bills too terribly often. How are they going to garner different types of revenue intake in order to keep the building open? What we can do is help them with information and deal with folks on a face-to-face basis down the road when that is once again available to us, but also speak to different programs that can be, well, the information can be disseminated electronically, much as what we're doing here. We're seeing a number of organizations, including churches, reach out with different online type of contacts. The challenge we have with some of this population is, well, some of them don't even have smartphones. Not like that's, oh my goodness, they're driving a horse and buggy, but we have some challenges in disseminating the information, and the churches sometimes deal with old school communication, and that can be very helpful. Because if we look at the different categories that we have addressed a little bit earlier, we're looking at a number of ways that as a licensed insurance professional, you can lend information that's going to establish your reputation in the community and serve that community as well. When we look at the Medicare population, we're seeing that now, well, good things come about when we're all challenged. Not so good things also come about. We see a number of those folks that are being approached with different scams in the Medicare community, particularly frightening. But if you are able to help send information through a trusted source, such as their faith-based family, that information is going to get there, and it's going to help them with the different challenges that they have. Medicare Advantage programs, PDP programs can benefit the entire congregation, the leadership of that organization, and of course, you yourself as an agent. It can alleviate a lot of the concern that folks are facing right now with, gee, how are we going to handle the expenses that come with this, the testing, if we're unfortunate enough to come about and actually contract some of these health conditions, how can we pay for that treatment? And then it also causes folks to realize that we are just a mortal vessel and we will pass. And perhaps we need to be really aware of the challenges we have in providing for our beloved ones once we're gone. Life insurance requests are out the roof. Long and short-term care programs are being very carefully re-examined. So we're seeing some different programs there that can really be of help, and there are means to help the people in those areas that want to make certain that they also contribute to the financial well-being of their faith-based family as well. And then, of course, there are the ancillary programs that can make a big difference when we look at critical illness programs, and also some of the other plans that are out there that can help address the month-to-month, the day-to-day budgeting of some of the challenges that we have. The non-essential type of procedures now have been pretty much put on hold, but it's not always going to be this way. We're going to overcome the challenges we're seeing now, and by making the information available in a timely fashion, we can help folks, because we're going to reach out to people through a trusted environment that's difficult to reach by other methods. So one of the things we need to make certain that we do is examine our own reasoning for why we're doing what we're doing. I'm not going to preach. I'm not qualified for that. I'll put it that way. But if we're doing this with the right heart, the right spirit, the right intentions, it's casting your bread upon the waters that will come back to us. And we can also make certain that we are helping folks that are cognitive of some of the challenges that are going on with the finances of their faith-based community. And because of some of the electronic tools that are available in this space, you don't have to wait to do it. It's a question of being able to contact them and make them aware of some of the programs that are available to that individual and to the congregation they share their faith with. One of the things that come about, and we've seen through past experience with this, is some of the smaller congregations or the folks that are in perhaps an area where it's not as affluent, basic final expenses can be a challenge. And many times for people that pass without planning, their faith-based family pass the hat in order to make certain that interment can come about in a timely and reasonable manner. Try to think of a good way to place that. So there are some different things that can come about that when something happens, well, it's the old thing, you can't insure a house that's on fire, but if people are aware of some of the pieces of the information that's out there in order to help them sustain things, it can be a big help to them. So when you look at how an overall review of information that's necessary can benefit the congregation, some of the information up front is an investment on your time and on your resources of making certain that they know what they have currently. Are there any things they can do to improve that situation now? Or how are certain aspects of that care really handled? There's a lot of information coming out right now on telemedicine and some of the ways that can enable a person to access resources without abandoning their social distancing requirements. That can be of great help and comfort to folks, and that information's available on CDC, on CMS. They're kicking out a ton of information on that, and part of what we're going to send as part of the follow-up today are access points to that, so you can understand if a person is on traditional Medicare, how's telemedicine handled there, or if they're on a Medicare Advantage program in that space, how it's handled there, and to a degree, even the under 65 population, which is in my circus, not my monkeys. It's not as big of an influence for what I do. It is, however, a big influence for many of you, and understanding the ins and outs of some of those programs and how that's influenced by a current situation can be very helpful. So making yourself that trustworthy source of information, it's part of paying the dues in a manner of speaking. There are a number of folks that are going to be very interested in those details, and you providing that information and a line of communication also creates a means for them to affect change should it be in their best interest. When you look at some of the Medicare Advantage programs, obviously, if we're dealing with a population that, well, the median income for a Medicare beneficiary is a little over $26,000. And if you're looking at half those folks that are below that level, dollars come into play. And some of the things we need to do is consider how we can improve their situation now. Certain circumstances will prevent a change. We're all aware of the fact that Medicare Advantage programs are locked in, locked out, however you want to say it, and there may be only certain means that they can use to change. There may be a SEP coming about because of this situation. There may be an extension of the OEP period. We don't have particulars on all of it yet, but that's something that we need to be aware of and be able to communicate to the folks we're reaching out to make certain that we're giving them the correct information and an avenue to improve their situation. If we're able to lower their financial obligations and their budget, obviously that assuages a lot of the pressure that they have in their home, but it also helps them be aware of the fact that their theological home may be under the same pressure, and they be able to help even more for the general population. And generally, these programs are really good about keeping people healthy and the things they need to do to build that self-esteem and feelings of belonging, and it creates a better situation all around. The same situation can, of course, apply and does apply to the Medicare Supplement helps, because offering a Medicare Supplement review, utilizing one of our quote engines as a means of comparison, or however you approach that situation, different topics on doing just that, it can help them free up some additional dollars, maintaining coverages if appropriate at that time. If you're looking at approaching these folks with life insurance, there are a multitude of programs that can really help people in this arena because of the way the programs are set up with the amounts that are necessary to bury an individual or establish a legacy within the congregation for whatever purpose the details are being sought. It's a great way to also plan for that on a budgetary basis because of the way those dollars can be obtained through a regular premium. It also makes a person feel a lot better about themselves because they are doing something to make certain that their loved ones don't have to make hard decisions, harder than they would need to, and that they can make an influence on the people within their faith-based family as well. When you look at how this affects the leadership of the organizations that you're approaching, obviously it's another service that they are delivering to their congregation, and because we use and utilize governmental documents and different sources straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, you have a validity there that is accepted across the board. It's your source of information. It's what you're able to deliver and make a difference in the discussion with the church leadership as to supplying this information. They may be aware of it, but they may not have a system to deliver the information, and that's where you can help as well. It also makes certain that, well, if we are all socially distanced and we're not even able to go to church, don't know too many churches send out a bill. How are people going to deliver their tithes? How are people going to be able to afford that part of it? Or if their budget shrunk and they're doing a percentage, those congregations will feel that financial pinch as well. So it's another way of making certain that we're supporting our partners in the community by providing the information that we do. Obviously for you, there's a ton of benefit for an agent that's willing to invest in their own education, making certain the details that they're providing are correct and accurate and compliant. But it's also a way to reach folks that won't necessarily respond to other types of communication. We've seen an obvious jump in the use of direct mail. That's one way of obviously having folks raise their hand for additional information on programs that are pertinent to them. But we also have an opportunity to reach those folks that don't respond to that. There's not a lot of agents or agencies that can afford television or radio ads or mass media of that sort, but utilizing some of the other ways of getting people to raise their hand can make a huge difference. And referencing and working with folks that have those relationships can really make a difference. It also gives you an opportunity for that greatest of marketing potential, and that's the referrals through both the individuals you deal with, but by establishing a relationship with the organizations, they're going to talk to each other as well, and it'll create a different type of marketing technique than you have in any other circumstance. So how do you find these organizations? There are obviously ways of purchasing a list if you chose to. You don't need to. It's all public record. And what can we do about reaching out and contacting those folks? Well, you're going to have some challenges now because they're socially distanced as well. Are they forwarding their phones to individuals? How are they handling the situation that's available to them as well? One of the great online sites that's available is an organization called churchangel.com. This is their website, and it gives you the opportunity to pull up organizations in your target market. Don't mean to sound so unfaith-friendly with this, but it gives you a way of narrowing down people in your target market by adjusting to different zip codes. You understand the area in which you market. It may be widespread. It may be looking for a particular appeal of a community specifically, but this gives you a way of coming up with a first step. I live in Texas, so I'm using Texas as an example. I wasn't born or raised here, but hey, it's where I am now. This is what I hope to do down the road of surviving everything that we have. But it's a way then that you can look at these organizations and come up with folks in a target demographic that is in an area that you can positively influence. And you can look at them specifically. Gives you that contact information, where they're located. Many cases, if they have their own website, that's a good indication that they have some technical proficiency and a way of accessing their information as well. So you've got a site here that can help you market specifically to a population that is narrowed down by what you're looking for. You may look to approach individual organizations based on other type of criteria, looking to work with Christian counselors or other organizations that may help you in reaching out to the community. You may go by denomination. You want to reach out to your faith family first to positively influence them to start. But there are obviously multiple religions. This one that we saw deals with folks in the Christian faith, but you can reach out and find Jewish denominations, mosque, so you can have the Islamic population and where they worship as well. Many times you may have pushback originally with folks that you don't share that faith, but your intent of assisting your community, regardless of the underlying, finger quotes working, qualifications, can make a huge difference when it comes to a true targeting of an area in which you want to market on a regular basis. Something else to consider is looking back at some of your other community activity in the past. If you worked a retail situation, you have sat in a Walmart, or you've been involved in one of the pharmacies with one of the different carriers, it can give you an indication then of perhaps making certain that you can work multiple campaigns to help all of the partners that you've had in the past as well. So by reaching out to churches, synagogues, mosques in an area around where you have already done community activity, it can make a difference, because then you're then able to make that other center of influence, the pharmacy that you've worked with in the past, a partner in providing information as well. And many faith-based organizations have different pieces that help reach out to their community as well. Many of them have senior groups if you're working on the Medicare population. One of the churches I attended was called All Saints, is called All Saints, and the senior group was Golden Saints. So you have senior subsets within a congregation as well. Many of the larger populations also have caregiver support groups, which can be very crucial at this particular point in time. And there's a ton of information coming out on how you can support caregivers in our current situation as well. Some of the organizations will actually have social activities in a regular circumstance where people meet and come together. When organized activities, I used to deal with a bunch of organizations that were called Romeos, social organizations that go out to eat. And eventually we'll get back to that. What's a Romeo? Retired old men eating out. There are a number of different ways that you can actually dive into the population of a organization, wherever it is, and utilize the information you have available to you. So when you look to approach the population, you're identifying some of the places you're approaching. You're able to get somebody on a phone. What do you say? Well, you have a number of different topics that are pertinent always. And then there are a number of them that can be exactly, kind of more closely defined to the current situation that we have. A lot of folks that are active in the Medicare space can reach out to the folks that answer the phone, define who the decision maker is, how you can provide some of the information that's available to you. And it's important that you realize there are different hot points for different organizations, regardless if they're faith-based or not. The same sort of presentation could work with different governmental agencies like nutrition sites, senior centers, things of that nature, but you realize that they are actively marketed, and much of what they do on a regular basis doesn't have some of the same comfort level or communication with the folks that attend those different activities on an ongoing basis. Our faith-based community is very unique in that way. So this gives us an idea of how we can find the proper person to speak to and then narrow down the process based on some of the material that you're confident in presenting. Are you going to be confident about it right off the bat? No, probably not. But there are a number of folks probably on the line right now that have done these presentations a million times with different types of material, and it's a question then of making certain that we are using the resources that are pertinent to our current situation. It gives you then the way of speaking on an approach that's based off of the program that is your initial offering. And keep in mind being open-minded about what might be your primary topic of interest and what might be theirs. Well, there is a bit of a funneling down of those processes that you'll need to help identify what is the topic of interest to them now. And while the current health situation across the world, around the world, may be very pertinent to them, that may not be what they're looking to discuss. They're looking for the ramifications that are brought about for this. And because we are doing a lot of things telephonically or by email or however, by group chats, Join Me or Zoom or whatever we're using on a tech basis, it is very important for us to have the material available to help define that. And because some of this is a winnowing down of the contacts to find out who we really need to speak to, it's important to have some follow-up pieces available in order to do so. I'm going to show you that in just a little bit. So when you look at an approach for these organizations, some of the things that are very important, obviously, maybe just a basic Medicare 101. And if you are contracted with a particular carrier that offers that information, you want to utilize the detail that they have. I list the Medicare Made Clear program. It's a UHC, United Healthcare program. But one of the reasons for that is they have so much support material that's available to us without cost. It's not plan specific, but it gives us the detail that we need in different areas. We'll point out in the follow-up how you can access that if you don't already have it through the United Healthcare Jarvis site if you are contracted with that company. You also have different types of approaches based on just plain old education. And it looks like somebody didn't get the end out of that one, didn't it? So particularly with the confusion that's brought about by our current circumstance, we have that on a regular basis on different types of events that happen year-round. You know, when folks get their annual notification of coverage from the Medicare Advantage programs, they have questions. When they receive a billing in certain circumstances, they don't understand it, they don't know where to go to, or if they're having challenges accessing care, which is really a challenge now, knowing how to address that situation can be a huge differentiator for you in these approaches. Once again, basically an approach based on a particular program that you are looking to offer at the time. It's important to be extemporaneous, flexible as to the approach, because there may be a number of programs that are the hot button for the folks you visit with, and that's part of why the follow-up piece that we'll talk about in just a little bit can be very helpful to you. It gives you then a way of establishing your identity in your community with these different organizations and making certain that it gives you a point of follow-up as well. Because think of how difficult it is on a regular basis to reach out to people. If we have a skeleton crew servicing a faith-based organization, or if they're all working remotely, well, that can be a differentiator as well. So some of the things we need to do is be mindful of the situation we have in our, well, what's a good way to put this? The challenges that we have in reaching people can be even more accentuated in the current situation, or it could be a whole lot better because their people are not going out. When we have this, one of the first things that we need to make certain that we realize is that you're acting on your personal resources as a licensed certified insurance professional, and you have programs that can really help the folks that you are reaching out to. That's a point that sometimes we forget on our day-to-day marketing, and the fact that, hey, you're not out there just for a sale. You're out there to help people. You're out there to positively influence the people you reach. Much like the medical community that speaks to first do no harm, well, you're looking to improve the situation of the folks that you visit with as well, and you have a plethora of programs that can help you do that. So keep in mind, where your heart is can make a difference. The one piece of scripture I'll quote in this, where your treasure lies, there your heart shall be. If you're doing this with the right person or with the right intent, it gives you the opportunity to establish your reputation in that community as a go-to individual that can make a difference. So this speaks to the leave behind follow-up presentation, which can be very helpful to you in the fact that, well, you may have challenges reaching that decision maker. Or if you have the point person for folks that schedule different things or look to collect the material to help explain a situation, sometimes it may be a committee decision, and we need to have information available to help them understand who you are and what you do. So this is a piece that we put together that can help explain you, who you are, what you offer, and how that can make a difference as well. Pardon me for just a second. So this piece deals with the guy that's talking to you right now. It gives you an idea of who you are and revealing a little bit about yourself. Creating an agenda and walking through what you have to offer can make a big difference of making the intangible tangible in your response. It gives you a way of personalizing your approach and rendering the details that is necessary to create that bond of trust, giving them a bit of information about who you are and why you're doing what you do. And this gives you probably more information that you would ever want to know about me, but it's a way to genuinely address the qualifications that you have and a way of defining where your heart is in this entire presentation as well. Obviously, when I provide this piece to you, you're going to want to put in your particular information, but it gives you an example of who you are and your qualifications. I've been in the insurance business for a wee bit of time now, and I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, have a degree from the University of Nebraska, which some people like and some people may not, but it gives them also an indication of where I have focused my time throughout my tenure in the industry. I'm a certified Medicare specialist. I have a licensed underwriting training council fellowship from a number of years ago. And then the different qualifications that come about it, revealing a little bit about yourself personally. I don't have any pets anymore, don't have any family. Sometimes, though, that's a nice piece to put in this to basically humanize who you are and what you offer. One of the things that might be a real point of interest to you is if there are categories in this that you don't contract with or you don't have information about, it can be helpful to mention them anyway because you have the resources to gather that information for them down the road, and it gives them multiple choices as to how they can approach, how you can approach a market, and what is very pertinent for them at this time. Why you do what you do? Well, we deal with healthcare or life insurance or whatever else of those subcategories we do. There are challenging circumstances that have people looking for competent counseling as to the details of those programs. And we offer the opportunity to explain those challenges and do so either individually or on a group basis, on a regular basis. And because of the current situation, our access to certain technologies can make that much easier than it has ever been in the past. Some of those presentations that are available for folks that are comfortable with seminar selling, be it face-to-face in the future or through some of the technology available with Join Me or different programs that can help with folks that can access the internet, you have different categories that can be very helpful. I already mentioned the basics on Medicare 101, or utilizing a carrier-specific piece that may have collateral that can help you with that explanation. And there are different programs available from different sources that deal with the subcategories in the Medicare space, some of the assistance programs that are necessary to help cover the financial details. We have a webinar tomorrow on low-income subsidy, extra help, and Medicare savings plans, and it utilizes carrier information in certain aspects, but also third-party pieces that can be very helpful for you in a complete walkthrough of the explanations of those programs. We utilize a lot of the information available through the National Council on Aging. So you're looking at a third-party type of presentation that's not carrier-specific and can be a starting point for the conversations that you will have down the road. There's also information available on Social Security programs from Social Security and a number of carriers that offer some very nice presentations that are non-salesy and help folks realize some of the situations they have, clarify those situations to help you make someone aware of their current shortfalls or that they're doing well and how you can move forward with it. There are different programs out there as well for health conditions, very pertinent now. I did not put the COVID-19 piece on this because it's so fluid at present, and it's something that we have to be aware of on an ongoing basis as it progresses. But there are other programs that are very crucial and have an effect on that situation as well. Some of the things that can bring about the additional risk factors that we're seeing and dealing with that crisis are the folks over 60. Have they had cardiovascular history? Do they have cancer? Are they diabetic? There are a number of these factors that can make a person much more susceptible for the challenges brought about at present, and having information about those can be very helpful for you. The Legacy Safeguard program is actually a pre-planning program that helps people plan for the inevitable. And there are some incredible presentation pieces that are brought about by that organization where people can actually use that planning process as a family type of event. In many circumstances, it's interesting to see that the family's computer guru is the 8-year-old kid who can handle everything like that, where some of us that are older are going to look at it and go, okay. That's a great presentation to use, not only for a group, but as an individual to help them plan for the inevitable. And then, of course, since we're dealing with the faith-based organizations, a way of utilizing life insurance, annuities, other assets as a part of a charitable bequest can be very helpful for you as well. We have relationships with the legal community that can be very helpful for you in that regard, in this particular way of providing the information. These are samples of what some of those presentations look like. And you'll notice that these are taken from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services National Training Program. Well, gee, John, can I just go there now myself? Absolutely. Search for them and pull the presentation, or if there's one of interest to you, we'll send it to you. It's a PowerPoint that is created by the government. Some of them are better than others. These are pieces that, I haven't updated the snapshot on this, but these are benefits that are available for an individual dealing with those circumstances. And if you want to step beyond just that, the National Council on Aging that I keep referencing also has other advocacy toolkits for other topics that may be very pertinent for you in your situation. And these are part of the website. The link is going to come to you as part of the follow-up to today's presentation. And it may be something else you access for the population that you're addressing. Social Security planning, the Legacy Safeguard presentation, which is, I got to tell you, as an agent, this can be very helpful for you for planning your own situation. None of us really like to talk about it when it comes to us or whatever, but it can make a huge difference for you and your family and for your book of business down the road by simply preparing ahead of time. That's what we do. And then, of course, the charitable bequest piece, Living Trust, where we access this information through our connections in the legal community. It gives us an opportunity then to establish why you're doing what you're doing, because it's helping them facilitate the better health of the entire congregation. And it moves into a somewhat of a closed situation for it. This is our tagline information. You'd obviously want to make certain that it is your contact information that you're going to use. So that sample piece is going to come to you as part of the follow-up to the presentation, so you have it, that you can modify it to your circumstances, and you have a follow-up or lead behind piece that is there for you. This is something that does require a bit of preparation. Much of it, however, has already been done for you that are active in a particular space. You're aware of some of the challenges that are presented to the Medicare population. And if you're a devotee of one program or another, specialize in it. Make certain that you know the difference in the different Medicare supplement plan types. How did MACRA affect the availability of those programs for people newly eligible for Medicare? What are the assistance programs that you can make available to folks to help with their current situation? We have some challenges because of the closing of the Social Security offices when it comes to, basically applying for Part B and some of the other situations that people encounter as their coverage is changed. Many of us use the social workers in the Social Security offices to help with our LIS and MSP applications as well. So we have to be able to adapt and pivot a bit as to how we can help people qualify. For the drug subsidy, for the extra help, you can go on ssa.gov and as an advocate, help them apply for that assistance on an electronic basis compliantly as an advocate. If they qualify, it can make a huge difference for them in their life moving forward. And by applying for the extra help benefit, it automatically creates a review of their other financial situation to see if they also qualify for Medicare savings programs. Being aware of the qualifications for those programs and how that can make a difference can really expedite that situation. And with some folks facing additional financial pressure at this particular point in time, it can be very helpful to have the detail in tomorrow's presentation available to you as well. And it may also offer that center of influence, that church, that mosque, that synagogue, an opportunity to reach out to their neighborhood community. Because if we think about it, we all have our own little clique, in a matter of speaking. We have all of us as insurance professionals. We share some of the same challenges and the same needs in the everyday work life that we deal with. We share different types of concerns, many of the same, with our nuclear family genetically, our faith-based family, or people that we share common interest with. And those are organizations that can really help us in our professional life, and obviously are some of the things that help define who we are. This also gives a center of influence a way to reach out to their community and make the information available as well. There are some things they can do to publicize an event that you can't, compliance-wise. So being aware of some of what they have available to reach out to their congregation or the community in which they reside can make a big difference as well. And that's where being flexible with some of these presentations and having the information available on the different topics can make a big difference, because they may be utilizing a generic piece that you help create. There's availability on sites from the different carriers that can help you in that area, that can help their standing in the community as well. One of the things that we recommend is making certain that this is as non-intimidating as possible. And many times, as an insurance professional dealing with whatever center of contact, they think you're going to open your plaid jacket and offer to sell them a watch. Make certain that they realize that you do this on a regular basis, because you will, and that the first contact is not salesy. In many circumstances, the more successful agents make a big point of there is not an enrollment on site. If people expressed interest, you can create an additional meeting as a sales enrollment meeting, or make certain that it can be handled individually as well. In many circumstances, for those of you that are comfortable with seminar selling, you see that many people aren't comfortable divulging their personal information on site. One-on-ones are necessary, and the congregation can help you with information available to their congregation, provided by you, vetted by that organization, that they can use on posting on site, in the church bulletin. They have a website, making certain that they help communicate with their folks to disseminate the information you're made available. So once again, detailed presentations made available to you, either through your own efforts of obtaining them, which you're more than welcome to do, obviously, but you don't need to recreate the wheel. We have these available to you, and upon request, we'll send them to you. I'd send them all out to everybody, but I'd probably blow up everybody's server, and some of these presentations are very large, and that would require a lot of email communication. Willing to do it, but just not everybody would probably appreciate that gesture. So one of the things that we want to make certain that we realize too is we're establishing a relationship with these organizations. And by offering a multitude of topics, it gives you the opportunity to repeat a program that's of great interest or vary that presentation with topics throughout the year. Obviously, you may not be wanting to do this weekly, but doing things at least on a quarterly basis makes certain that you stay first and foremost in the minds of the people you're reaching in order to provide this information. And when a situation evolves or is created that helps them be aware of shortcomings or programs that can really help them, that consistency can be the key because they're going to come to you. If you're working in the Medicare space with Medicare Advantage and prescription drug programs, it's important to remain compliant and register your events. There's been a lot of relaxing of some of these requirements. I always tend to stray to the conservative side of it, and when I register an event, I put it as a sales event, even though my intent is not to collect an application and that immediate meeting. It does give you the option, however, of making certain that you can collect demographic information and you are prepared for any circumstance and the questions that come up. It's important that we are obviously prepared with the information we are providing. So those presentations we showed just a little bit ago, well, let's make certain that you know what you're talking about, that you're qualified for those topics. And that might require a bit of homework ahead of time. And then, of course, as you go through and you secure different dates with an organization, you're prepared for it. If it's a face-to-face situation in the future, you have the material to help conduct the event. That may be, oh boy, I need to order some Medicare Made Clear material in order to make certain that I have a take-home for them. Or you may just print one of the PowerPoints that are provided. That's a little more expensive, and that's why I tend to stay away from some of that, because we're looking to do this on a financially feasible basis as well. Once you market an event in cooperation with the church leadership, you go ahead and conduct it, and follow-up is crucial. You want to make certain that the attendees are delivered what has been promised, but you also communicate that to the folks that have helped you reach that population, and that they have the same material and that they understand what is going on. In many circumstances, it might be a presentation to them before anything is scheduled. So if they have a particular hot point and that PowerPoint or piece of information that you're delivering is the deciding factor, you're selling them to sell the community. I don't mean to be harsh, but that's the way it is. And remember, you got a lot of programs that you can use as the means of identifying what is important to that organization. So how do you prepare? Well, obviously, if it deals with a particular product, it's important that you have the base information on those programs down. And if you are contracted with certain carriers, you know what you're talking about with those carriers. It's also a situation that if you're utilizing some of your past experience with retail organizations, how that works and how you can tie in all of the folks within a particular market, be it your faith-based programs, the retail program with pharmacies that you dealt with, who are the providers of that care in that target market. Knowing those details can make a big difference as to how you procure these events, but also how successfully they're carried out. So we have some different trainings that can help you with that as well. They mentioned extra help in Medicare savings programs. That is a piece that is conducted tomorrow. And then, of course, being familiar not only with the MedSup quote engine, but also with the Medicare Center and other software packages that help you enroll into different programs remotely. If you're contracted with any number of carriers now, you're getting a ton of information about the tools they have in place that allow you to be effective from working from home, and the electronic enrollment pieces that they have that help you with enrollment with their programs. If you haven't got a ton of it, you're going to get a ton of it. And we have a bunch of it available for us to disseminate to you through email. It's also on our website as well. The Medicare Learning Network can be a very valuable resource for you as well, because it gives you the information that we pull as well to provide for you. And then the Medicare.gov guide, the Medicare and You piece, is very important as well. One of the things that some folks are not aware of is there is a piece, a website that you can go to, register, and pull information on different pieces of material that address different topics, and they're provided to you by CMS. You can't go in there and order 100 Medicare and You guides. Trust me, I've tried. But it does give you an opportunity for other items that can be pertinent to you in your efforts of properly communicating, not only with the folks that okay these type of presentations, but with the folks that deal with the questions personally. So it can really help in explaining that on a third-party basis without being all corporate on it. So some of the things we can do at Premier is help make certain that you have the product and the contracts in place to properly address some of these programs. Insurance Bay program allows you to create an agent profile and contract with organizations electronically. It can be really helpful when you're showing a list of product. It's like, hey, I don't do long-term care. I don't even know who offers these programs anymore. This is a way to help with the assistance of our marketers in our offices to make certain that you have the detail you need in those areas that you may not be as proficient in. We also make certain that we protect you through this kind of D&O. This gives you the opportunity to act as a true independent insurance agent because it covers you regardless of where you procure the contract. No matter what in contracting hierarchy you're accessing, this will cover you across the board. Unlike being added perhaps to a blanket E&O for just one company, this will take care of the entire situation with very reasonable prices. We also make certain that your licenses stay up to date through continuing education bundles, through our association with WebCE. We help you with your own benefit package where you can pick up non-cancelable individual DI coverage on a modified guarantee issue basis, discounted rates, where you share in the commission of it, so you can protect your own ability to create income. And much as where today's presentation is being recorded, you're going to receive a way of accessing our entire library of educational opportunities to go through and look at marketing techniques such as this, but also perhaps a particular program that you have more interest in, or a hot new dental program that might have a great presentation to use with these facilities, or gee, I need to learn more about a cancer program, or whatever the product happens to be. There are a number of them available to you on this listing and on our website and our YouTube channel as well. That electronic support that I mentioned about some of the quoting techniques, the CSG piece has a way for you to not only identify Medicare supplements that are most effective in your market, but also a way of conducting Medicare supplement reviews. It gives you a way of obtaining the electronic scope of appointment so you can speak across the board. Not necessary for just MedSups, but most of the time a MedSup conversation will bring about a conversation about prescription drugs. You need it for that. And providing a scope of appointment lists the number of topics so you can be flexible and kind of grease the wheels ahead of time, so to speak. That's a great way to cross-sell as well, because some of the tools in there help you identify different programs that can cover some of the holes in the Medicare Advantage programs that may be there. So it's available not only for MedSups, but through an electronic process with our Medicare Center program. There's a ton of here's how it works webinars scheduled in that right now, so make certain that you look for assistance with that. Even though our hearts may be in the right place, it's necessary for us to receive compensation for what we do. So we have a repository of all the additional incentives that are offered by insurance companies and our organization as well for agents for their production. This year's trip was to be a cruise from Miami to the Bahamas. Obviously, in light of the current situation, that has been canceled. We're looking for rollouts for next year very quickly. Some of the other ways that we can help you get in front of people, in addition to the information you can access through Church Angel or other sites that you have, we can create contact lists specifically for you based on different parameters that are what you're looking for in your target market, and then additional information on the other community-based programs that can be crucial and utilized across the board to help one in reference to another. It's important not to put all our eggs in one basket, and being flexible within the community can really make a difference when it comes to our success. Carriers sometimes help out with those prospects. Internet leads are really hot right now. Facebook leads are out the roof. We've got a couple of programs there for you. And for agents that are cognitive of the fact that some of the old tried and true ways of reaching the community, such as direct mail, are there, we help support that too. Based on production, it can really dial down the cost of some of those programs. All that said and done, what we are looking to do is create an opportunity to work with you to grow your business. We want that business, and we want to make certain that we can help you in whatever means we can for you to grow your agency. It's then up to you to determine which of the programs that are available to you can become valuable to you and include in your personal marketing plan. If you're targeting a particular area to work, for whatever reason it happens to be, utilizing centers of influence can be very, very effective in creating your reputation and driving business in that area. If this is something you want to do, we want to work with you to create the plan to work on it. We're going to make certain that you have the information available to properly access your compensation. And as John Wayne and the Cowboys said, hey, we're burning daylight. Now is the time to do this. Dialing into churches at this particular point in time isn't quite the same as cold calling off of a list for, hey, I'm selling, you buying? This is a way of helping your community, providing the information that in the long run is going to benefit all who are involved. That said, you can find ways of reaching us. We're going to send the follow-up, as I mentioned before, but our toll-free number at 1-800-365-8208 or through our website at premiersmi.com will get you a communication outlet with us where we can plan together on how to make this work for you. That said, I've gone a little bit long. I apologize for that, but watch for the information we'll send to you, hopefully by the end of the day, tomorrow at the latest. And if you're interested in the low-income subsidy Medicare Savings Program presentation, there is a way to RSVP for that on our website as well. You probably all got communication about it anyway, but it's something that I would strongly recommend if you're looking to pursue working with faith-based organizations. You have that detail item for your own knowledge and for being professional in addressing that as well. That said, I realize that your most valuable asset's your time. I appreciate you investing that time with us here today. Watch for the follow-up that we have in the very near future. And in the meantime, before we speak again, I wish you good selling. Thanks so much. Stay socially distant and healthy, and we look forward to visiting with you in the very near future. God bless.